this is our summary lesson for Amazing Grace with our advanced chords and bass chord transition techniques. Okay, we always open up our lessons with the scale. We're still in the key of G for these Skype lessons. So we're going to practice just as a warm up to keep our hands free the scale of G. Starting with G below middle C. We'll start here. All right, one more time. Now, as you can see, I didn't go down. We'll work on that as we're going on with our Skype lessons. And now, G for the left hand, just one octave. One octave again. All right. Practice that as your warm up, and we'll get into what we were covering in our lesson. Now, we were adding more to what we have been doing with our past two Skype lessons. I wanted to give you another practice lesson, what I call the scale in chords. And what I mean by that is with the melody or the scale being on the top. Putting chords with this. Now, we covered this on our Skype lesson, so this is just a review. So with G being the top note, followed by a D, followed by a B. And all I wanted you to do was to practice this. A G root chord, a D seventh chord, back to a G root chord, to a C chord, an G root. This is a C, I want to say it's the second inversion. There's our D7th inversion, back to the G. Back to review, and G, D7th, G, C, G, C, D7th, and G. Now this is to help you get familiar with playing full chords in your right hand. As you become more comfortable with it, you can just walk right into it. Now we haven't gone down yet, but we're going to work on that one more time. I'm going to speed it up just a bit. And this is just to help build muscle memory so that when you have the one chord up here, you hold your hands in place and you can drop it there. Hold your hand in place, and once you get the G lined up with your pinky, you drop it down. G lined up. So when you're going backwards, again, we will cover this in our next Skype lesson. Everything is muscle memory. We'll work on that on our next Skype lesson. All right, we were working on some walk down transitions and bass for Amazing Grace. Now, you've got the song down. As I said, we're going to work with an actual rhythm so we can work on your timing for the song, or we can develop a different timing for the song. But I want to give you some of those transition chords we were working on. So as we were playing the song, Amazing Grace, as I said, that's your first break in the song where you can put transition chords. And as you can see, that's one of those chords we learned doing the chord changes. This is just a walk up. It's just a pattern of chords to take you from one part of the song. So let me see. That saved a wretch like me I once. And that's what we had covered in the lesson. I said I was going to give you a real good breakdown of it and do it with a beat so you can see how it's timed into the song. Let me slow it down. That saved a wretch like me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And right into that. So 5 chords before you get to the next part of the verse. I once was lost. And I said I want to work that with the beat. Let me get the beat in there. Let me get the tempo correct first. Fast, let's slow down that tempo. Slow it down just a little more to practice speed. There we go. So you had amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember, we had covered that change also. Just stop the bass a little bit. Stop the bass rhythm. We had the other walk down. Let me shorten it. Not make it so big. One more time, a little slower. The bass hand. Again, just part of the scale, just omitting that note. The chord changes is what brings out the real color of this part of the transition. When we filled it out. Now this stretch might not be comfortable for you yet, but it just when you're practicing your scales, that opens up all this so that it can become comfortable. So you can practice it just as an octave with the bass. You can add chords. That's the other part of what we're going to practice once we have our next lesson, because you've got the gist of the song. You've got the melody, left-hand chords, right-hand chords with bass. Now we're just adding those transitions in, like icing on the cake, you might say. All right, let's do it with the slower bass, slower drum track, so that we can get you comfortable with playing behind an actual rhythm. So let's see. Was blind. Was blind. become comfortable with what you're doing, you can time when you want to lift your hands from the keys to get to those next notes. Sometimes you can get crossed up by trying to time the left hand with the right hand, and you forget where the melody is going, which is why I always say if you can hum the melody while you're playing, it lets you know when to get off a note or when to get off of a chord. Don't worry about that. That'll be coming. All right. So I've given you something to work with. Again, this is a summary of what we covered so that you can sort of get a feel for what's coming next. Now, we had wanted to go into the song "Oh How I Love Jesus," and I said I would give you a overview of what we're going to cover. We're going to move that from G to A flat. Again, scales in A flat are different than G, but basically the same sound. We're going to learn how to do the chords in G, in A flat rather. The seventh chord. We will cover that in our next lesson, and I'm going to give you an overview of "Oh How I Love Jesus." We'll start it from the verse. As you can see, that same transition change we used in Amazing Grace fits with "Oh How I Love Jesus." And as I try to teach my concept of music, you can always borrow chord changes, chord names, chord phrasing from other songs as you go to your next song. Well, that's all I'm going to show you right now. Our next Skype lesson is when you say so, and I'll be prepared to see how well you did with this summary, and then we'll be going on to our next song. All right. Be blessed. Sam Tolbert, Sound of Joy Music Services, stmusician.com. Take care.